Now, Dr. Robert Atkins knew that science, so he decided to do an experiment on himself. He decided to stop all carbohydrates. He was eating a lot of fiber. Remember, he just experimented on himself? Few things happened. His weight just fell off. Why? Imagine losing 70 kilograms without breaking a sweat. It sounds impossible, right? But this is exactly what Judge Robert Atkins accomplished. In this video, we'll reveal the secret strategy that helped him alter his life without ever stepping foot in a gym. Prepare to be inspired by his extraordinary journey and discover how you too can undergo a life-changing transformation. Let's dive right in. Creating glucose from the fat stores. He was never hungry. Why? Because these are the 3 food groups that keep the food in the stomach longer. Dr. Robert Atkins conducted a daring experiment on himself, cutting all carbohydrates from his diet completely. Instead, he focused on eating a lot of meat, butter, cream cheese, and eggs. What did he eat? He ate a lot of vegetables, okay? A lot of people don't realize that, with the exclusion of the potato. So he was eating a lot of fiber. And he knew also that the gastrointestinal tract needed to move through the next 2 food groups. He ate a lot of meat, butter, cream, cheese, eggs. So there was his protein. And meat, butter, cream, cheese, eggs was also supplying another food group, which was fat. As a result of this severe dietary change, his weight began to drop rapidly. So, what foods should someone cut out if they want to lose weight rapidly, safely, and drastically? The solution is obvious: carbs. If someone wishes to beat cancer or diabetes, they should seriously consider limiting their carbohydrate intake. This technique focuses on fat cells that accumulate as a result of high carbohydrate diets. Have human beings eaten so many carbohydrates? So we're going to do a carbohydrate assessment. And I want you to tell me what most Americans had for breakfast this morning. Yeah, toast. So here we've got bread. Cereal's a very popular one. One lady said eggs. Sorry, no one cooks anymore. Is that right? So we'll say for the donuts, the cakes, you call them biscuits. So I'm just going to say cakes, etc. So this takes into consideration the donuts, the biscuits, the cakes, the pastries, the pies, all of that. And pizza. Same with pasta. I don't think there's a home today that doesn't have pasta. Would that be right? And rice is another carbohydrate. Potatoes. That's a high carbohydrate food. And last and certainly least in nutritive value is the pure crystallized acid that's extracted from the sugarcane plant. What happens to Americans who follow these diets? They're becoming bigger. The liver, overwhelmed by the excess, turns it to fat, resulting in weight gain and other health problems. Have you struggled with being overweight and comparable health issues? It may be time to consider what Dr. Atkins discovered. He transitioned from battling obesity to living a bright, healthy lifestyle. How did he do that? Meet retired Judge Henry. We had one guy, and his name was Henry. He was a retired judge, and he came to our program, and he was not interested in changing his medication. He was about, I think, 69. He was a bit overweight, probably carrying about 70-pound excess weight. He was on medication for blood pressure, for blood thinning, for blood cholesterol, for blood sugar, and gout and stomach ulcers. So he was on 6 medications. So we gave him the hawthorn berry tea to drink through the day because of his high blood pressure. He heard the lectures at the end of the week. He said, "Thank you, Barbara." He said, "I've very much enjoyed my week. I will take some hawthorn berries home with me and continue." Now, he rang me 4 months later. He said, "I'd like to come and visit, get some more hawthorn berries." I said, "Come for lunch, Henry." Now, when I opened the door, I did not recognize Henry. He had lost 40 kilos. So the puffiness in his face had gone. He said, "I can do my coat up now." He said, sit down, I have some stories for you. He said, I went to the doctor recently to have my blood pressure taken, and the doctor said, I'll have to get another machine. And he said, why? He said, well, your blood pressure, this machine says your blood pressure says it is 120 over 75. He said, that's not your blood pressure. He said, it is now. So the doctor took him off his blood pressure medication. The doctor took him off his blood thinning medication because his blood was just perfect. His doctor took him off his cholesterol lowering medication because, well, the doctor even reckoned that the cholesterol was in the right range. He said, I'm off all my medication. Who took him off? His doctor. Because everything was normal. I think this is an interesting story because this man chose to stay on his medication. There are many that come that say, I'm going to stop the meds. But I believe that it's far better to get the lifestyle principles in place, and then some medication can be stopped immediately, like your blood thinning and your blood cholesterol, absolutely. But as the lifestyle changes and as the blood pressure comes down, you can ease off the medication. As the blood sugar comes down, you've got to ease off the medication. The doctor took him off the medication, otherwise Henry'd start fainting everywhere because his blood pressure would go too low. Remember what the drugs do? They've got a one-set mind. They're robots. I must do, whether you need it or not. To top it all off, he no longer required knee replacement surgery because he was not overweight. I gave Henry hawthorn berry tea to consume throughout the day to help manage his high blood pressure. Along with this, he attended lectures that provided useful information about healthy living. At the end of the week, Henry thanked me and expressed how much he had liked the program. He said that he would continue to drink the hawthorn berry tea at home because it had already begun to improve his health. However, Henry made it plain that it wasn't simply the hawthorn berry tea that was effective for him. He undertook a full modification of his routine and lifestyle, which proved quite fruitful. He changed his eating habits, choosing balanced yet nutritious meals that aided his weight loss quest. His breakfasts, lunches, and dinners were precisely designed to be both nutritious and satisfying. In addition to these modifications, Henry made the purposeful decision to remove coffee and alcohol from his diet, both of which were contributing to his health problems. So, why isn't exercise the most effective way to reduce weight? Many people who are just starting their fitness journey after gaining a lot of weight may find that exercise alone does not produce the expected advantages. Consider walking, for example. If a 150-pound person walks for 30 minutes every day, they will only burn around 140 calories, which is comparable to 1 can of soda. This means that despite the time and effort put in, the calorie burn from exercise can be quickly countered by a simple dietary choice, such as drinking a soda. This demonstrates why exercising may not be the best way to lose weight efficiently and rapidly. Instead, changing your lifestyle, as Henry did, can have a much greater influence. I said, Henry, tell me what you're eating. He said, I have a big spaghetti bowl every morning of whole grain and fruit and coconut cream. Did you hear that? All that weight loss on coconut cream. I have some sourdough bread with avocado and tomato. He was a bachelor. He said, and then at lunchtime, he said, I have my main meal about 2. And he said, and I have salad, I have vegetables, and I have some sort of protein from what you've taught me. He said, I only have to cook that twice a week, and then I freeze it in bits. And I have another slice of sourdough bread with avocado and tomato. And he said, and I do not eat again till breakfast. He's a very decisive man. That's not a light diet, is it? In fact, he wrote to me 2 years after that and said, he said, to date it's 70 kilos, 70 pound loss, that's about 38 kilos. He said, I've stopped coffee, I drink water now. He said, I don't have wine anymore. If I'm with my friends of an evening, he said, I get the non-alcoholic grape juice wine. I said, tell me about your exercise program. He said, I find I can walk another block every week. So the more he exercised, the stronger he got, the less weight he could go further for even less effort. I think it's an incredible story, and I know why this man got results. He just did it. He saw it, it made sense, so He just did it. Whole grains are popular among individuals trying to improve their heart health because they have been shown to decrease cholesterol and improve blood pressure. Did you know that whole grains contain fiber, antioxidants, minerals, and vitamins that can help you lose weight? I urge that everyone who wants to reduce weight add a high-fiber diet into their routine. There are numerous misunderstandings about high-fiber diets, including the incorrect idea that they contribute to weight gain. In actuality, fiber present in whole grains can slow digestion, giving you a sense of fullness and helping you eat less overall. Consider Henry's diet, which consisted of whole grains, fruits, and coconut cream. Have you heard that? Coconut cream has helped him lose so much weight. Fruits, on the other hand, provide virtually identical nutritional content. They are high in natural components such as vitamins, minerals, antioxidants, prebiotics, and fiber, which are not only necessary for illness prevention, but also help with weight loss. But what is the thing with coconut cream? Coconut cream may appear delicious, but when consumed in moderation, it can be an effective complement to a weight loss routine. It contains good fats, which, like fiber, can make you feel full and satisfied. Furthermore, the healthy fats in coconut cream can improve overall metabolic health, making it a fantastic choice for anyone seeking to lose weight while still eating flavorful, satisfying meals. The name cream is generally associated with weight gain, but this is not the case with coconut cream. Aside from its rich flavor, coconut cream has various health benefits, including better digestive health, heart health, and cholesterol levels. Coconut cream includes MCTs, medium-chain triglycerides, which work similarly to fiber by making you feel full, lowering your calorie consumption. Henry's lunchtime meals were well balanced. His meal usually consisted of vegetables, salads, and protein sources, generally served on whole grain sourdough bread, topped with avocado and tomato. Vegetables like whole grains are high in fiber yet low in calories, which naturally leads to a lower calorie intake throughout the day. Furthermore, the high water content of veggies promotes a fuller feeling, which helps to decrease appetite. Henry explained his midday routine, stating that he eats his main meal at 2 p.m., which consists of salad, veggies, and some type of protein. A high carbohydrate diet, in my opinion, is one of the leading causes of obesity. Many individuals rely on bread and cereal, while others struggle to resist midday treats like cakes, muffins, and croissants. These high-carb foods can sabotage weight loss attempts, so it's critical to focus on nutrient-dense, low-carb options for long-term weight control. How can you do it, though, on a vegetarian diet? Let's have a look. And we're going to go to Genesis 1:29, where God's telling Adam and Eve what to eat. Because I don't think you can improve on the Garden of Eden diet. Let's have a look at it. In Genesis 1:29, God says, "Behold, I've given you every herb-bearing seed which is upon the face of the earth." We're going to have a look at the food, we're going to have a look at the protein content and the carbohydrate content. God says, "Behold, I've given you every herb-bearing seed." So what's a seed? That would be grain. A seed would be legume, like often called the beans, and a seed would also be seed. So let's look at grain. You've got wheat, rye, barley, oats, amaranth, buckwheat, quinoa, so many, rice, so many grains. They are high in protein, but they are also high in carbohydrates. So let's glance over at our carbohydrate list. How many of these are from grain? So we've got grain, grain, grain. We could say grain, 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 because all the cake section, grain, grain, grain. The majority of our carbohydrate list is from the grain department. Here is where things begin to go wrong. When we consume carbohydrates, our bodies may react in the worst possible way. These carbs are transformed to glucose, and I explained that everything we eat, including carbohydrates, degrades into smaller particles that are taken into the bloodstream. The glucose subsequently proceeds through glycolysis, creating pyruvate, which is transferred to the cell's powerhouse, the mitochondria. And it'll take it inside the cell. Remember I promised you we'll be going to the CBD every day? So the glucose goes inside the cell. It goes through a 20-step pathway. The 20-step pathway gives us 2 units of energy. Isn't that why we eat? Now the end result of that 20-step pathway is a chemical form of glucose called pyruvate. Pyruvate is the chemical form of glucose that gets fed into the next section of the cell, often called the powerhouse, because this little 8-step pathway delivers to us a whopping 36 units of energy. So the question now arises, why does a 20-step pathway only give us 2 units, and why does an 8-step pathway give us 36 units of energy? The difference is oxygen. This is called an anaerobic pathway, anaerobic because it doesn't use oxygen. It produces energy by the process of fermentation. That's where a cancer cell lives. Remember what we looked at yesterday? Doesn't like oxygen, consumes 15 times the rate of glucose because it's running up there. Interesting. However, when we take too many carbohydrates, our bodies produce more glucose than is required. Once energy requirements are met and glycogen stores are full, the remaining glucose is stored as visceral fat. This fat accumulation causes overweight and obesity. While fats might make you feel full, a diet strong in refined carbs and fats is an absolute guarantee to get obese. This fat buildup is especially problematic when it is accumulated in the abdomen or other internal organs. This topic is comprehensively covered in Dr. William Davis's book, Wheat Belly, where he discusses how sugar and hybridized wheat raise blood sugar levels, resulting in the accumulation of visceral fat. The glucose is stored as glycogen. I call glycogen the diabetic's best kept secret, because if blood sugar goes low, what do? Get on the exercise bike, release your glycogen stores. In fact, one young man, a diabetic, he said to me, "Why didn't anyone tell me about glycogen?" Now I can understand his frustration because, wow. Let's go back to glucose. So on a high carbohydrate diet, we've still got glucose left over because the cell can only store so much. By the way, the liver stores a little bit, and this glycogen can be sent all over the body, whereas the glycogen that's in the muscle cell, it's like in a prison, it can only be used by the muscle cell. And when you think about it, that's the cell that has probably the most demand on it. So what's the body going to do with the rest? What's the liver going to do with the rest of the glucose? Well, we've got an amazing fuel depot, fuel supply. I call it the basement stores. You know what the basement stores are? They're the fat cells. And what's happening to Americans today? Whew. They're getting bigger and bigger and bigger. Furthermore, it's worth noting that glucose burns 4 calories per gram, but fat burns 9 calories. Although fat burning produces more energy per gram, eating more calories than your body can burn, particularly from refined carbs and fats, will always result in extra weight. Consuming dehydrating agents such as coffee can increase the condition, making it even more difficult to maintain a healthy weight. The essential point is that, while fats can be part of a balanced diet, excessive consumption of refined carbohydrates, combined with high fat intake, leads directly to obesity and its associated health problems. Given the circumstances, it's obvious that the country is dehydrated, as Dr. B addresses extensively in his book, demonstrating that many health problems come from the body's cry for water. His book, He's Not Sick, He's Thirsty, explains why so many ailments occur. Because they sat to eat dehydrated. Same with the adults. How many adults get up in the morning, first thing they have is, say, orange juice and a cup of coffee? Isn't that the traditional breakfast fluids? And what are they doing when they have their orange juice and their cup of coffee? They're thirsty, they're trying to hydrate, but neither will hydrate them. How clean would your body be if you washed it in orange juice? How clean would your body be if you washed it in a cup of coffee? Water and water alone will supply what the body needs. And there's a book called One of the Body's Many Cries for Water. It's by Dr. Batman Geheldij. We'll call him Dr. B, an Iranian doctor. And his story is very interesting. He was in prison, political prisoner, and all the patients, well, not patients, but the residents in the jail would come to him because he's the doctor. And he had nothing. So he just kept giving everyone a glass of water. And, they were happy because he actually did something. And every 15 minutes, he'd give them another glass of water. And so he'd come and see them, give them another glass of water. And to him, it was a bit of, what else can I do? But then he noticed something. They all were getting better. In fact, the word went round, we've got the best doctor here in this jail. Everyone's getting better. So he put his detective hat on. Why are they getting better? All I'm doing is giving them water. And out of that came his book, One of the Body's Many Cries for Water. While carbohydrates aren't naturally harmful, their negative effects can be increased by overconsumption and improvement. Choose unprocessed options and replace processed grains, such as wheat, with healthier alternatives. Dr. Atkins tested a regimen on himself, focusing on limiting carbohydrates while boosting protein, fiber, and fat, and discovered it to be effective. However, this method has limitations. For example, some people who followed his diet experienced acidosis as a result of the high acid content from eating a lot of protein and fat. To balance your body's acid and basic composition, I recommend eating more veggies and plant-based foods. So we'll begin by looking at the acid-alkaline scale, and as we go through this, we will see its importance. So at one end, we've got acid. This is the pH scale, and pH means potential hydrogen. When you dissolve acid in a solution, it gives off hydrogen ions. So pH means potential hydrogen. That's what you're testing when you test for acid alkaline. Up the other end, we've got alkaline, and its reading is 14, and in the middle, we've got neutral. So neutral is neither acid nor alkaline. Blood has a reading on the pH scale, and blood's reading is between 7.35 and 7.4. If blood pH goes up to 8, the person will go into a coma and die of alkalosis. And if blood pH drops down to 7.22, the person will go into a coma and die of acidosis. Dr. Colin Campbell discusses this in his book, The China Study, stating that plant protein is more efficient, burning up to 80% as fuel in the body, as opposed to animal protein, which burns 58%. The remaining animal protein frequently turns to fat, which contributes to weight gain and health risks. Not all fats are created equal, though. Healthy fats, such as coconut oil, olive oil, and avocado oil, are regaining popularity and are essential for the human body. I emphasize the necessity of using good fats, such as coconut oil and olive oil, which have been used for generations. Unfortunately, these essential fats have been overtook by modern, refined, and harmful foods like white sugar, white rice, white wheat, refined sugar, and processed cow milk. This shift in food patterns has resulted in an increase in obesity, diabetes, and heart disease. Furthermore, the use of highly processed oils such as sunflower and peanut oil has become increasingly common, frequently causing more harm than good. Additionally, I stress that certain oils can harm your artery walls and should be avoided totally. Amino acids, which are generated from proteins, are essential for the body's cell regeneration. In fact, protein makes up 50% of the membrane surrounding each cell. As a result, a fat-free diet can be unsafe and damaging. It is critical to distinguish between fats that can hurt and those that can help you. Not all fats are created equal. Some might cause health problems, while others can encourage healing. Altered fats, in particular, are unhealthy and should be avoided. Avocado oil, which includes both saturated and monounsaturated fats, can be a suitable option if cold-pressed. Healthy fats are required for the correct operation of the human brain, which is mostly composed of fat. And this is happening in America a lot today. People are not drinking enough water. They're not having the whole salt, and they're definitely not having many greens, which is where your magnesiums is. So the little bit of water they're having is not getting inside the cell. They don't go out in the sunshine because they're scared of getting skin cancer. So they're not getting their vitamin D, so the calcium can't get in and the minerals can't get in. And they're trying to lose weight, so they've listened to a lot of the media hype that you've got to stop the fat because fat will make you fat. So they're on a high carbohydrate diet. Remember what fat will do? It'll give you satisfaction or a satiation, a full feeling. But if you're not having any fat, you just eat and eat and eat and eat and eat and eat. The whole packet of cookies goes, the whole chips go. There's not a sign in your body that says enough. It's the fiber, protein, and the good fats that will give you that sign. So they're on a high carbohydrate diet, thinking that if they go fat-free, they'll lose weight. And can you see what's happening? The water can't get in, the minerals can't get in, the glucose can't get in, and the body says, what are we going to do? Because remember, this is the CBD of the human body. What are we going to do? And the body says, we've got one last thing up our sleeve. We'll just force it into the cell. That's high blood pressure. Henry's approach to dinner was to eat extremely light or skip it totally. When he ate dinner, he normally had sourdough bread with tomato and avocado. I advocate eating habits that include big breakfasts and lunches, followed by a light or skipped evening. Many people make the mistake of eating infrequently and in little portions throughout the day, only getting caught up in an extensive meal at dinner. I compare this technique to just fueling your automobile when you're almost done with your long trip. This strategy generally results in excess weight rather than weight loss, since your body begins to store the extra calories. Traditionally, individuals ate their largest meals in the middle of the day, followed by lighter meals in the evening. Only in the last 100 years has the major meal been moved to the end of the day. Before electricity, eating larger meals at night was impossible due to a lack of light. Eating heavy meals late in the evening encourages weight gain while also impairing digestion. In contrast, eating larger meals during the day and smaller meals in the evening helps to manage energy levels and promotes weight loss. This method allows your stomach to rest and properly digest food, which benefits weight management. Digestion takes approximately 3 to 4 hours, while simpler foods such as watermelon digest more quickly. Allowing your stomach to rest between meals restores digestive enzymes. Time-restricted feeding, such as intermittent fasting, can help you change your eating habits. For example, eating a substantial breakfast at 6 a.m. and a moderate meal by midday could make a huge dinner unnecessary. Alternatively, if you have big meals at 8 a.m. and 2 p.m., you might be able to skip dinners. Drinking adequate water is essential for weight loss, but it's also critical to understand the proper amount and timing. According to scientific study, drinking plenty of water can help you lose weight in a variety of ways. For starters, drinking plenty of water suppresses your appetite, resulting in less food intake. Second, water can increase your metabolism, which improves your body's efficiency. Finally, staying hydrated increases the effectiveness of your exercise methods. Previously, Henry depended extensively on coffee and alcohol, ignoring the essential element of water, which harmed his health. He stated that he had quit drinking coffee and switched to water, and he no longer drank wine. Instead, he drank non-alcoholic grape juice with friends in the evening. This shift was prompted by the multiple health risks connected with coffee and alcohol, including heart disease and high blood pressure. Furthermore, alcohol promotes weight gain by inhibiting fat burning and boosting hunger, which leads to increased snacking. He steadily increased the distance he walked each week. Surprisingly, only 2 years after his first visit, he shed around 80 kg and resolved his long-standing major health conditions. If this story inspired you, be sure to like the video and subscribe for more transforming health advice. Share your own experiences or questions in the comments section. We'd love to hear from you. Remember, remaining educated is the first step towards a healthier living. Thank you for watching and see you soon.